Yes, good morning everyone. Okay, so 14th June 2022. Let's see which are the important articles from today's The Hindu newspaper. Yes, good morning everyone. Okay, look at the first page. Retail inflation eases to 7.04%. So we are talking about a CPI here. And yes, this is good sign. Last month we have seen that it had crossed we can say the 7.79% mark in April, and now it has reduced to 7.04%. We have covered this, we have followed this news in last 3-4 months continuously, how the inflation is working out. We are having follow-up today also regarding this. There is one map given, or let's say graph given, and we'll try to understand the trend in the inflation and the reasons behind such high inflations in India. Okay, now come to page number 6 directly. On left hand side, on bottom side, you can see the editorial, choosing sides. Now this article is talking about a recent Shangri-La dialogue that happened in Singapore, where the different, let's say, political representatives of countries, they talked about the geopolitical issues and tensions, concerns, especially in Indo-Pacific region. So there, the Australian US Defense Secretary had highlighted the India-China LAC border tensions or dispute. So with that context, this article is written. As the conflict between, or rivalry between US and China is growing day by day, the taking stand by the other countries regarding this rivalry, or we can say taking any one side, is becoming more and more challenging situation. तो इंडिया के लिए भी कैसे ये चैलेंजिंग है, तो वो पार्ट यहाँ पर उन्होंने बताया है. GS2 पेपर IR सेक्शन. Now see on page number 7, environmental governance at center stage. Article written by former environment minister and at present the chairman of Parliament Standing Committee on Science and Technology. Let's find out let's say what this article is talking about. This article is talking about how Indira Gandhi, the then Prime Minister of India, had highlighted at international stage like Stockholm Convention of 1972. She has said that poverty is the worst polluter. तो ये सारी चीज़ें उन्होंने हाईलाइट की, एंड हाउ लेट्स से एनवायरमेंटल गवर्नेंस स्टार्टेड इन इंडिया इन 1970s and at present how it is evolving. So the article mentions about Project Tiger and Ramsar Convention. So what we'll do, we'll just find out the information about these two for prelims examination environment section. Fine. So other things are not that much important from that article. Now yes. Now on page number 9, text and context page, demolition drives violate international law. Now this is from archives. That means ये पुराना आर्टिकल होता है, वो फिर से रीप्रिंट होता है, और वो इशू जो है अभी फिर से न्यूज़ में रहता है. लाइक वी हैव सीन इन लेट्स से मध्य प्रदेश, उत्तर प्रदेश, द डिमोलिशन ड्राइव इज कंटिन्यूसली गोइंग ऑन because of especially those activists or those involved in the protest or riots, we can say. So how it violates different international laws and human rights convention provisions of that, all this is mentioned in this article. We had covered this article on 20th April 2022. That is last month, in April month 20th. So you can refer to that video and you can cover this part. It is relevant because we are expecting indirectly the reference to this issue that is going on in the country. Okay, it is a demolition drive is being considered as a punishment to the rioters or something like that. So yes, today or tomorrow Supreme Court will surely intervene in such kind of instances. So that's why how it affects different fundamental rights, international, we can say, conventions, the rights provided under those conventions, ये सारा इसमें mention किया हुआ है. Okay. Now moving on. Yes, come to page number 12. Center to boost supply of fortified rice. Okay, so under which let's say government schemes we are providing, or government is providing fortified rice here. That is mentioned ICDS scheme, Integrated Child Development Scheme, Services Scheme is there, ICDS, and Pradhan Mantri Poshan Shakti Nirman or PM Poshan scheme. Under these two, the fortified rice is being given to let's say beneficiaries since October 2021. That part is relevant to our examination. Then India is expanding its nuclear arsenal, SIPRI. So it is defense think tank, we can say, and this the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute is specifically think tank related to all the defense equipment that countries are keeping, the defense budget that the countries are having, how it is increasing, decreasing, all these aspects. Every year it comes with the report, and here it is talking about India as well as Pakistan has increased or expanding nuclear arsenal. Yes, on bottom side, new norms for sentence remission. As a celebration of 75 years of independence, the government of India has come up with this new guidelines for providing remission by the both center and state government to certain categories of prisoners. ठीक है, तो वो कौन से कैटेगरीज है वो वहाँ पे मेंशन किया हुआ है. हमें प्रीलिम्स ओरिएंटेड पॉलिटी पार्ट वी हैव टू कवर दिस. Okay. Now on page number 13, world page, there is one small news talking about gunmen kill 55 people in Burkina Faso. Now here onwards we should be very diligent in finding out all the important mapping points. Two such questions were asked this year, mapping related places in news. Match the following type of questions. And these places were largely, we can say that there was some kind of political unrest going on, civil war is going on, and that's why it is in news in last 1 or 2 years. So that from current affairs, how we should take such kind of inputs from world page of the Hindu newspaper. Whenever such small news, especially the countries in Western Africa or overall African continent, छोटी छोटी चीज़ें हमें अभी याद रखनी है, उसमें से find out करना है कि मैप पे ये कहाँ पे located है, right? So we'll cover this, find out this particular location on the map, Burkina Faso, and which is that Sino province in Burkina Faso. Yes, on next page, page number 14, business page. So there is one article saying Russia is now second biggest oil vendor to India. Okay, so the largest we can say that is Iraq, then now Russia has become the second largest and it has put behind the Saudi Arabia. Earlier it was second, now it is third, Saudi Arabia. So these developments you should be knowing about, because when we started buying this subsidized or cheap oil from Russia, these Western countries criticized us, and what we said that it is less than 1% of our oil imports, overall oil imports. Now it has increased to 5%, and further it is going to increase when we are taking this discounted oil from Russia. Okay, so there will be again some kind of criticism, and we can expect if it increases a lot, then sanctions can be there on India also. ठीक है? Yes. Fine, let us discuss this article now. Yes, the first one, choosing sides, hard choices for countries as US-China rivalry intensifies. Okay, so we all know that since 2017-18 there has been continuous conflict between US and China. Initially it started with trade war between two countries. They started sanctioning each other's companies, and we can say the trade reduced. And because of that, then the political tensions also started. China started doing, let's say, some kind of influence in the Pacific Ocean region. Then US started influencing the complete Indo-Pacific strategy in, we can say, Indo-Pacific region. So because of that, the tensions further escalated. Now recently the Shangri-La dialogue was, let's say, has taken place in Singapore, where US Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin said Beijing was continuing to harden its position along the border. We are talking here LAC, line of actual control, India-China border conflict. Okay, then he also drew connection between China's fishing activities in the East China Sea, the placing of advanced weaponry on man-made islands in the South China Sea, its LAC actions as a part of coercive and aggressive approach to territorial claims. You should know that China's territorial claims, largely in Indo-Pacific region, border with India. Second, you should know that it is having border dispute with Bhutan also. Then in South China Sea. At the same time, it is having dispute in East China Sea. This was asked in prelims examination this year. Senkaku Islands, dispute with Japan. Here in South China Sea, it is, let's say, having claim of 9-dash line. ठीक है. So the disputed islands names Paracel Island on the north, Spratly Islands on the south. ये सब याद रखना है for prelims examination as well as main examination. Fine. And we know that along LAC we have dispute, border dispute with Bhutan also. It is having border dispute. Okay, it is not properly demarcated in the eastern part, and in western part there is, we can say, LAC dispute going on. तो ये सारी चीज़ें आपको पता है. Territorial claims you should know. Now the territorial disputes and the verdicts regarding the territorial dispute in different arbitrations, like Permanent Court of Arbitration is there or International Court of Justice is there. So इसके जो judgments है ये China जो है वो accept नहीं करता है. China does not accept the provisions under UNCLOS in South China Sea. It says that 9-dash line, they follow 9-dash line. ये जो claim है उनका वो follow करना है. This is the aspect. Now we should note, you should talk about India also, as US has been highlighting the India-China conflict at international stage. That means US is hinting on certain things. It is saying that its allies like India, it should have more cooperation with US. As China's claims are intensifying. Okay, China is becoming more aggressive and aggressive. That's why US will want its ally to align more with it. Second thing we should understand here from this, let's say, event or highlight, that China, in this dialogue itself, Chinese defense minister had said that it is not China, rather it is India who sent their soldiers into Chinese territory, and that's why the LAC conflict happened in 2020. So this is how China perceives this conflict. But yes, the minister has also said that both countries are working out the mechanism for de-escalation from along the LAC. However, when we talk about the kind of forces and permanent structures along LAC from both sides of the border is getting strengthened. India is also strengthening, as well as China is also strengthening infrastructure along LAC. This shows that de-escalation, full de-escalation may not happen in near future. Then we should also know here that regarding US, again talking about US, that whenever we take stand here, if you talk about Quad countries, so out of these 4 countries, India is only country which has not taken any stand on Chinese, let's say, disputes or claims. Public stand जिसको बोलते हैं हम. Okay, so India has not taken public stand on the China's dispute with Taiwan, Hong Kong, or any kind of, we can say, even South China Sea disputes. हम publicly, openly कुछ नहीं बोलते हैं उसके ऊपर, right? So this also shows that India is trying to maintain the strategic autonomy. However, this reduces some kind of importance, or we can say use of this Quad grouping so as to counter China. Already China consider Quad as anti-China or Asian NATO. It calls it as Asian NATO. So that's why you should know about this India's stand also. India is not taking aggressive stand. Why? Because we share large border with China. We have huge amount of trade with China, which is again skewed trade, we can say. There is huge trade imbalance, trade deficit with China. We import more as compared to export to China, and that's why we do not want to hurt those relations, right? So in this manner you should do the analysis here. And when this now US-China rivalry further intensifies, it becomes very difficult for countries like India to take one stand aligned with any grouping or something like that. Because we want to have good relations with all countries, we are focusing more on, we can say, economic aspect rather than geopolitical aspects. Now next, let us discuss some topics related to prelims examination. Project Tiger is mentioned there. Now this Project Tiger was launched in 1973 in Jim Corbett National Park of Uttarakhand. It is the first tiger reserve to be declared, Jim Corbett in Uttarakhand, and these tiger reserves are governed by the Project Tiger of 1973. At present there are total 52 tiger reserves. We should be finding the locations of all these tiger reserves. This will be your task at home, because every year protected areas related questions are asked by the UPSC. This year they asked about Ramsar wetlands. Then it is centrally sponsored scheme by the Ministry of Environment and Forest. It is administered by NTCA. It is statutory body. National Tiger Conservation Authority. Wildlife Protection Act was amended in 2006 for establishment of this statutory body. National Tiger Conservation Authority, it is having, we can say, considerably high powers. Then government has set up Tiger Protection Force under the Project Tiger to combat poaching or poachers. Then Project Tiger also funds relocation of villagers to minimize man-tiger or human-tiger conflicts. Okay, so this information is sufficient. You should find out all the tiger reserves, their locations in the state-wise manner. All protected areas should be prepared in a state-wise manner, because UPSC is asking such questions. Match the following: protected area and the state located. Okay, so yes. The next is Ramsar Convention on Wetlands. Brief information about this Ramsar Convention. Yes, this convention took place in 1971, 2nd February. Basically, it is for conservation and sustainable use of wetlands. So it took place in city of Ramsar in Iran on 2nd February of 1971, and that's why it is also called as Ramsar Convention, and 2nd February is celebrated as World Wetlands Day. Now this was implemented or came into force in 1975. This additional information you should know. 1975. Number of parties at present 171, including India. At the center of Ramsar philosophy is wise use of wetlands. Wise use will include sustainable use without harming the wetlands. Okay, then Ramsar Convention on Wetland define wetland as areas of marsh, fen, peatland or water, whether natural or artificial. So man-made water bodies can be also declared. Then permanent or temporary structures. Then with water that is static or flowing, fresh or brackish or salt. So saline water, lakes or all those, they are also can be declared. Including areas of marine water with the depth of which at low tide does not exceed 6 meters. So they can be also declared as, we can say, wetlands. So the wetlands includes all lakes and rivers, underground aquifers, swamps and marshes, wet grasslands, peatlands, oases, estuaries, deltas and tidal flats, mangroves and other coastal areas, coral reefs, all human-made sites such as fish pond, rice paddies, reservoirs and salt pans. There can be question related to this. Which of the following can be declared as wetland under Ramsar Convention? So you should be knowing about this. Now the highest decision making body is Conference of Parties. Excuse me. And it meets every 3 years. Okay, COP meeting of Ramsar Convention happens every 3 years and last meeting happened in 2021 in Wuhan, China, जिसको हम बोलते हैं जहाँ से कोरोना वायरस ओरिजिन हुआ है, वुहान स्प्रेड हुआ है. तो वहाँ पे in 2021 before that spread of pandemic basically the COP of this Ramsar Convention happened. Fine. So next time whenever it is in news, any Ramsar site is in news, we'll all cover the Ramsar sites in India or Ramsar wetlands in India. You should know that it also maintains Montreux's record, and under this record basically it covers all those wetlands which need substantial intervention for their conservation. They have been degraded considerably through human activities and they needs to be maintained, they needs to be conserved. So for that purpose it maintains Montreux's record under Ramsar Convention. Remember this part also. Fine. Okay. This year actually they asked question match the following in terms of Ramsar sites in India or Ramsar wetlands, and on the right side there were states. So that's why it is very important. Although next year similar kind of question will not be there, but related to wetlands and Ramsar site there can be question. Now, gunmen kill 55 people in Burkina Faso. The name of the province is Sino province in Burkina Faso. Now about Burkina Faso, again it is West African country. You can see here the map. Then Ouagadougou is the capital city, and where this Sino province is located, you can see here Sino province of this Dori Sino, this region is actually where the insurgency or militancy is going on. Suspected militants targeted civilians in this part of, we can say, you can see here Saitenga in Sino province. This is the location, Saitenga, and this is having boundary with other countries. On bottom side, you can south side, you can see Côte d'Ivoire is there. Then there is Ghana, then there is Togo, then Benin, and then Niger on this side, then Mali on this side. So these are the bordering nations of Burkina Faso. Fine. So you should remember some of the highlights and the location, especially जहाँ मतलब conflict region है world में, especially the Northern Africa, Central Africa and Western Africa region. UPSC is asking such questions in your prelims examination. Fine. Okay. Then Russia is now second biggest oil vendor to India. So briefly we are having follow up on this issue of oil import from Russia. So Russian origin crude hit 5% of India's total seaborne imports in April for the first time, rising from under 1% throughout 2021. तो ये 1% से नीचे था अब तक 2021 में, अभी वो कितना हुआ है 5%. Iraq remained the top supplier to India in May and Saudi Arabia now is the third biggest supplier. तो ये चेंजेस आपको पता होना चाहिए, फॉलो अप रखना है. वाई वी आर हैविंग मोर इंपोर्ट्स? बिकॉज रशिया इज प्रोवाइडिंग अस डिस्काउंटेड ऑयल. ठीक है, वो सस्ते हमें बेच रहा है हमें. दैट्स वाई आवर कंपनीज, ऑयल कंपनीज आर एक्चुअली बाइंग ऑल दिस ऑयल फ्रॉम रशिया. देन इंडिया इज एक्सपांडिंग न्यूक्लियर आर्सेनल, डिफेंस थिंक टैंक. सो दिस इज स्टॉकहोम बेस्ड, स्टॉकहोम इंटरनेशनल पीस रिसर्च इंस्टीट्यूट. Now it has said that India had 160 nuclear warheads as of January 2022. It appears to be expanding nuclear arsenal. Along with that, Pakistan is also expanding nuclear arsenal. Then China is in the middle of substantial expansion of its nuclear weapon arsenal. तो सारे ही बढ़ा रहे हैं, ऐसा एक आपको indirectly मिल रहा है in Asia region. Now you should clearly know that India does not share official data on its nuclear arsenal with any country. Okay, then India and Pakistan make statements about some of their missile tests, but provide no information about status or size of their arsenal. ठीक है, न्यूक्लियर टेस्ट के बारे में इंफॉर्मेशन वो शेयर करते हैं, बट they do not provide the information about how much nuclear arsenal they are stockpiling. New norms for sentence remission. So as a part of 75 years of independence, the Amrit Mahotsav, Azadi ka Amrit Mahotsav celebration, the special remission would be granted to certain category of prisoners and they would be released in 3 phases on August 15 this year, 26th January next year, and 15th August next year. Now, who are all categories here? Prisoners who would qualify for premature release under the scheme are women and transgender convicts of ages 50 and above, male convicts of 60 and above who have completed 50% of their total sentence period without counting the period of general remission earned. Then along with that, among the other eligible remission are physically challenged or disabled convicts with 70% of disability or more who have completed 50% of their total sentence, terminally ill people also. Then persons who have committed an offence at the young age 18 to 21 with no other criminal involvement or case against them who have completed 50% of their sentence period would be also eligible for remission. So basically here the government is playing the role of parent state, father figure. So it is promoting value of forgiveness. It is promoting value of forgiveness. So you can give reference to ethics paper also. The value of forgiveness, why it needs to be promoted by the state. It is giving one example here. As we are celebrating the independence, so there should be some kind of chance, reformative justice and all these things. However, those involved in the serious crimes under the laws like TADA or POTA, or we can say UPA Act, Explosives Act, National Security Act, NSA Act, Official Secrets Act, so they will not be eligible under this guidelines. Okay, so polity part, prelims as well as mains examination. Retail inflation eases to 7.04. It was 7.79 in April month and now it has come down. You can see the graph. तो ये कम ज़्यादा होते हुए दिख रहा है since 2020. Okay, and it had come down a lot, up to 4%. You can see here in the mid or in 2021. Then again the economic activity started, then the inflation started, and now it had reached last year up to 7.7, last month in 7.79, and now it has come down to 7.04%. Now why it has reduced? Inflation faced by rural consumers fell to 7.01 from last month 8.38. तो ये रूरल कंज्यूमर्स और रूरल इन्फ्लेशन कम हुआ है, बट अर्बन एरियाज में ये बढ़ गया है. ठीक है. देन फूड प्राइसेस इन्फ्लेशन had hit the 17-month high of 8.31% in April. It has eased a little and it has come down to less than 8%, that is 7.97%. At the same time, there is decline in rural food inflation to 7.76% from 8.5%. However, the prices, food inflation in urban areas, it has increased here. Now, this sharp rise in tomato prices along with hardening potato prices raised the inflation in vegetables even as wheat and rice prices climbed up. So ये urban areas में ज़्यादा visible है. We all be knowing about how tomato prices are increasing now recently. It is contributing largely. So food remained the main inflation driver with nearly 50% contributor for this CPI, Consumer Price Index. You should know basics of CPI. CPI is basically released on monthly basis by NSO, we can say National Statistical Organization, or we can say CSO also. Then we should know it is, the base year is 2012. CPI includes both goods and services, and it calculates the general price rise at retail inflation or retail level, we can say at consumer level. So goods as well as services. The other indicator is wholesale price index, WPI. It is, again, you should know that it is at producer level, production level, and it only considers goods and not services. Fine. Center to boost supply of fortified rice. See, fortified rice means basically it is having some added nutrients, so as to ensure that the children or those targeted beneficiaries are having some nutritional security. It is very important aspect because in the country we have ensured food security, but the problem is related to nutritional security. The level of child stunting and child wasting that we have in the country, anemia, the spread of or presence of anemia among the adolescent women, तो वहाँ पे ये सारा चीज़ें हमें बहुत ही important है, right? Nutritional security. So fortified rice is targeted for that. Now the scheme by the central government started in October 2021 for providing fortified rice through PDS, as well as under these schemes, beneficiaries of ICDS, Integrated Child Development Services, and Pradhan Mantri Poshan Shakti Nirman or PM Poshan scheme. You should remember this, under which scheme it is provided. And yes, fortified rice is having added nutrients. You should know that some of the public health experts, they are saying that fortified rice is also having some negative impacts. However, the government considered that such harmful impacts can be overweighed by the beneficial let's say impacts, and therefore it is providing fortified rice. Although there will be a disclaimer of rice fortification has been put in India unlike in the other countries, so that people are aware of what they are consuming. तो उसके ऊपर लिखा होगा this is fortified rice. So that's why the people who are eating or taking that rice, they should be knowing about that they are eating the fortified rice and not the normal rice. Now some facts are mentioned here. You can quote that or mention in answers or essay. Malnutrition cost country at least 77,000 crore annually in terms of lost productivity, illness and death. You should write this in your data book. You can use this data. Then the country lost about 1% of GDP from anemia only. 1 rupee spent on nutritional intervention in India could generate 34 to 38 rupees in public economic returns by improving their productivity, by improving the health, reducing the cost of we can say health issues. तो ये सारी चीज़ें आपको essay में लिखनी चाहिए, आंसर में लिखनी चाहिए, right? Why the government is taking this intervention? Fine? Okay. Fine, we have not added this time the MCQ, but there can be MCQ on Project Tiger, there can be MCQ on Ramsar Convention, and the mapping part Burkina Faso, the area that the region of Burkina Faso that we covered. So there can be question related to this region sometimes in news is located in which of the following country. तो ऐसे या फिर match the following. So note down all these points and they can be asked in your prelims examination. Fine. Any question? Okay, let us stop then.
Welcome to Lukmaan IAS. Study General Studies with Lukmaan IAS for building comprehensive knowledge. GS paper 2 and 4 will be taken by S. Ansari and other papers will be covered by renowned faculties. Live classes are as effective as offline classes. The classes are highly interactive in nature. Your doubts and queries will be addressed and there will be dictation of notes. In the last 10 years, Lukmaan IAS has set up a niche in the field of UPSC guidance.